Everyone's obsessed with astrology and their horoscopes, regardless of whether or not they know what a planet in retrograde even means. Zodiac signs aren't science, but they do make for some incredible stories.
Taurus, the bull. Taurus is Zeus, though not as we typically think of him. To get around his faithful wife Hera, the Greek king of the gods often assumed animal forms, whether or not his paramours of the day knew who he was.
When it came to Princess Europa, Zeus transformed into a white bull with golden horns. The bull's beauty and gentleness lured Europa to climb onto his back. Zeus then abducted the young woman and took her away from her home to the island of Crete. The god revealed himself to the confused and frightened Europa, and she bore him 3 sons.
Zeus, proud that his unusual ruse worked, placed his bull form in the night sky for everyone to see. Amazingly, even that didn't seem to clue Hera into her husband's infidelity. Gemini, the twins. Castor and Pollux, despite being twins, were only half-brothers. Zeus, as always seems to be the case, had meddled his way into their mother's bed, and on the same night that she'd been with her husband. Perhaps because a god was involved, only Pollux was the son of Zeus, and thus inherited his immortality. Unlucky Castor was completely mortal.
Despite their differences and the awkwardness around the dinner table, the 2 brothers loved each other and were inseparable. When Castor died, Pollux became inconsolable. For the first time in his life, his brother had gone somewhere he couldn't follow.
Pollux begged Zeus to save his brother and offered his own life in exchange. Moved by the unwavering love and loyalty Zeus had probably never experienced in his life, the god took both men into the sky to live with each other forever. Cancer, the crab. The goddess Hera hated Hercules, her son from another mother, and as an act of revenge for his existence, she made him go mad and attack his family. As penance for his terrible crime, the demigod had to complete 12 impossible labors, one of which was to defeat the multi-headed serpent Hydra.
Hera knew that Hercules was a hero, so it was only a matter of time before he triumphed over the regenerating monster. She played dirty and sent Cancer the crab to distract the man. It would only take one misstep for the Hydra to catch him in one of its many maws.
However, as divine as it was, Cancer was still just a crab. It only managed to pinch Hercules' foot before he crushed it and continued his battle against the Hydra. Although Hercules defeated the crab, Hera gave it a place of honor as a constellation for its valiant if futile effort. Leo the lion. The Nemean lion is the first of Hercules' impossible labors. It had been terrorizing the people of Nemea for years, and no one could do anything about it. The lion's hide was impenetrable, and even a demigod couldn't pierce it.
Hercules was a jock, but he wasn't all brawn and no brains. While he might not be able to pierce the lion, he knew that didn't mean that there wasn't another way to defeat it. With his legendary strength, he strangled the lion and used the creature's claws to take its pelt.
From then on, Hercules used the Nemean lion's hide as an undefeatable armor to protect him against his enemies. Virgo, the maiden. Virgo has been thought to be multiple goddesses tied to fertility and harvest, but in some versions, the maiden zodiac is Lady Justice Dike. She lived on the mortal plane and ruled blindfolded over human justice during the golden age of peace and prosperity. However, as we know, humans can never let peace last very long, and they turned away from the gods and against each other for their own selfish ideals.
Dike was the last god to remain on Earth in the hopes we change our ways. Eventually, even she abandoned us for Olympus, unable to watch us tear each other apart.
Libra, the scales.
Libra is the only zodiac that isn't an animal or mythological figure. It's the weighing scales Dike brandishes to weigh and balance the acts of the human world around her.
Libra is inextricably intertwined with its wielder as the goddess's only measure of judgment in carrying out justice. The Greeks used this inseparability to explain why Libra and Virgo are always in the sky together. Scorpio, the scorpion. Orion with his awesome belt was a great hunter who bragged about his skills to anyone and everyone who'd listen. He'd even declared to his hunting partner, the goddess Artemis, that he would hunt every animal on the planet to prove his prowess. Artemis, as not just the goddess of the hunt but a guardian of animals, wasn't a fan. She sent a scorpion after him to teach him a deadly lesson.
Despite all of Orion's boasts, the scorpion won the ensuing battle, stinging the hunter and felling him. Zeus, who'd been watching the fight and eating popcorn as he did so, found not just Orion worthy enough to bring up into the stars, but the Scorpion as well. As the myth goes, the two fight each other in the sky to this day as a warning against both man's pride and cruelty.
Sagittarius, the centaur.
Chiron was the immortal teacher of medicine, hunting, prophecy, and battle prowess to Greek heroes like Jason and Achilles, as well as Hercules' friend. As tends to happen when playing around with pointy objects with those still learning how to use them, Chiron's good friend Hercules accidentally struck him with a poisoned arrow during a hunt.
Chiron learned a valuable lesson that day. Being immortal doesn't mean he was immune to pain. To rid himself of his agony, his immortality needed to go. With Hercules' aid, the centaur took the place of Prometheus, who had been imprisoned and punished for centuries by the god for gifting humans with fire. Breaking the chains confining Prometheus cost Chiron his immortality, and it was a trade he was happy to make. He was able to finally rest, and Zeus, somewhat paradoxically, re-immortalized him for his act by placing him in the night sky. Capricorn, the sea goat. There are many contenders in Greek mythology for who Capricorn, the sea goat, represents. One such contender is the satyr god of nature Pan. When the monster Typhon defeated Zeus and had him imprisoned, Pan warned the rest of the pantheon of Typhon's approach.
With Zeus gone, the monster was too great a danger for them to approach alone. The satyr convinced the gods to disguise themselves as animals and hide. Pan transformed his bottom half into a fish's tail and escaped into a river, slipping away from the monster's grasp.
Pan's plan was enough of a distraction that Zeus was able to be rescued. When the king of the gods challenged Typhon once more, he was victorious. In gratitude, Zeus placed Pan's half-fish, half-goat form in the stars forever. Aquarius, the water-bearer. Aquarius is Ganymede, the most beautiful man in the world during the time of the Greeks.
Zeus was entranced by the young man and needed to have him by his side. So he did what he often did. Whatever he wanted without asking for permission. He ordered his eagle to steal Ganymede from his home and bring him to Olympus to serve as his and other gods' cupbearer.
Ganymede became the first mortal to be immortalized, and it wasn't by performing tragic heroic acts or having godly parentage. All he did was sit there and look pretty. If only the other Greek heroes had it so easy. Pisces, the fish. Pisces is not one figure but two, the gods of love Aphrodite and her son Eros. During that same fight with the terrifying monster Typhon, the two gods scattered just the same as everyone else and followed Pan into the sea, disguising themselves until Zeus's return.
The mother and son were never known for doing anything by half measures, so they didn't bother with the satyr's partial transformation. They fully became fish and tied themselves to each other so they wouldn't lose each other to the tides. Do you put any stock into your zodiac sign, or is it just a fun bit of make-believe to you? Let me know in the comments below.
1. Aries, the ram. As always seems to be the case in mythology, when King Athamas married and had 2 children, it wasn't long before he grew bored. He divorced his wife for someone newer and shinier, but his new wife wasn't too happy that her husband had a little family without her.
She set out to get rid of the king's children Phrixus and Helle, and started a famine in their kingdom and convinced Athamas that his children must be sacrificed to save everyone else.
However, her husband's previous wife was a cloud nymph and had access to divine intervention. She sent a flying ram down from the heavens to save her children, but only Phrixus survived the trip.
The boy sacrificed the ram who saved him to the gods in a strange act of gratitude, and the ram's pelt was left in the temple to become the infamous Golden Fleece. But that's another story for another time.